See if we can get any interesting. I wonder if you get if we get any souvenirs at the end or counter them. The Piedmont airline from New Orleans was not, in fact, an airline at all, but according to its advertising, the fastest railway in America. What could be better for getting us to the edge of the Atlantic? Despite still being half the world away, we still had every chance. Celebrated Phileas Fogg, now in debt, says bank source. Yeah, because we had to take out 4,000. Which may have been a mistake. Atlanta. We settled ourselves in a carriage with one other occupant, an extremely large man who introduced himself as Charlie Sullivan, a lad from Birmingham, who was most impressively sculpted, especially around the neck and upper arms. His moustaches were nonetheless perfect. I asked where he was going, and he replied, New York. I was boxing. I'm going home. I could see he was most likely an excellent boxer, assuming he knew how to operate those colossal arms of his. However, Monsieur Fogg's interest had been increasing sharply throughout the conversation. You are trained? He demanded, keenly. Or self-taught? I've got a manager, Sullivan replied. He tells me what to hit. Excellent, excellent, Monsieur Fogg enthused. I want to hear all about it. I couldn't believe it. We'd seen a good portion of the world, and here on this train, something at last had piqued my master's interest. Boxing. Little did I know how the details I heard would come to be of use to me. Converse, see if there's any interesting from New York. Greetings, Monsieur Sullivan. Evening. New York. The building that thing out on the island there. Toronto. Are you headed back to Europe? Yes. We're headed for London as fast as possible. I always wanted to see the New York Chapel. For you. New York. My friend lived in New York back when the Canadian Pacific Railway to Winnipeg opened. Okay, so we do actually know about that. Winnipeg! Not for me, I think. No. Omaha? Enough talking. Goodbye. So I now know a route from Winnipeg to New York. Not the most useful. I was hoping for something a little further woods, but oh well. We're going to hit Washington. That Mr. Sullivan will, I think, go very far indeed, Monsieur Fogg opined as I brought him kippers from the dining cart. You seem to have the physique, I suggested. Not just the physique, my master replied. Physique is not the secret. His description of the transferal of weight from foot to foot was very well understood indeed. Is he engaged in any fights? I asked. You could place a bet. An excellent suggestion. He forked a mouthful of kipper. You should fight him. I almost choked. He looked at me with surprise. Is something the matter? Forgive me, it sounded as though you said I should fight Monsieur Sullivan. Indeed, he forked another forkful. You needn't be alarmed. I can teach you to box. I rolled back my sleeves. I am sure you can, monsieur. And I am a quick learner. Or at least, I thought, somewhat confident in nature. Excellent! Monsieur Fogg put down his paper. I have arranged for a space in the guard's van. Come. When had he done this? I do not know. I merely followed, and there was Sullivan, stripped to the waist, during his warm-up exercises. Passepartout! He greeted me through a thick leather mouthguard. Sullivan! I declared, meatily, as I removed my own shirt and tried to listen as my master provided some pointers. And then the fight began. I thought we were going to be practicing and training first. All right. Sullivan was a tough opponent, and if he chose to swing hard, he would brain me unless I defended myself. But he would not be able to slug on every swing. I would have to pick my moments to attack. To begin with, I kept my fists up, matching Fogg's demonstration from across the car, just as Sullivan swung low. The blow landed against my defence. I shook it off as best I could. A small crowd had gathered to watch the fight, and they murmured with excitement. Strength and stamina are different, Monsieur Fogg called to me from the side. Your strength will come back if you swing lightly, but your stamina once gone will leave you out cold. I nodded to show I'd heard. I saw Sullivan's shoulders move back. He's making to block, so don't swing too hard. So I will tap him with a light punch. A quick, decisive move. While Sullivan lifted his defences, I knocked him back a little. We were both still lively, although he was faring a little better than me. He will have regained some muster from that block, so be warned. I saw his arms tense. I threw a heavy punch, putting all my weight behind the blow. Sullivan snapped up his arms to block. I pushed him a little. Neither of us were badly born, though he was looking better than me. Sullivan's weight moved back. He's making to swing, my master shouted. I raised my guard, once more protecting my face just as Sullivan punched hard. I caught the punch neatly. We were both still energetic, although he was faring a little better than me. I heard rather than saw the money changing hands. Spectators were betting on me. Now it was my turn. I threw a heavy punch, why not? Putting all my weight behind the blow while Sullivan made a quick jab. I overpowered him, landing a sting. He was beginning to stagger and stumble. One more decent hit would finish it. Watch it, the next swing may be harder. My master called. I no longer had the energy for a heavy swing. I brought my defences up, once more protecting my face. Sullivan swung low. I deflected the impact breathlessly. We were both all but equally matched, tiring but still eyeing each other warily. He's wearing himself out, my master cried. I threw a light punch. A quick, decisive move. Just as Sullivan brought up the block, I knocked his strength a bit. The fight was by no means settled. The crowd murmured and whispered. He lifted back his shoulders. Next, I jabbed. A quick, decisive move. While Sullivan put up his defences, I knocked him back a little. I could hardly believe it. I was winning. Sullivan was almost ready to drop. I saw him shift up onto his tiptoes. I threw a heavy punch, putting all my weight behind the blow, but I had timed it poorly. Sullivan punched harder, smashing me back. We were both staggering and stumbling around the ring, but he had the upper hand by a hair's breadth. He won't be able to swing like that again. So I will also I'll throw a heavy punch again, putting all my weight behind the blow. Sullivan delivered a stinging punch. I burst through his attack, landing a sting. Sullivan span about and fell backwards onto the floor of the van. Defeated. Hooray! Passepartout! 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 Generous hands scooped me up into the air. Excellent show, Monsieur Fogg beamed, displaying a violent burst of character. Most impressive. Sullivan was rubbing the side of his head and cursing in a version of English I did not recognise. I shook his hand as he was carried to a compartment to lie down. I believe that makes you lightweight champion of North America, Monsieur Fogg remarked to me. More to the point, we won a little from the wager too. £2,000, in fact. Your funds have gone up by more than £2,000, and relations with Fogg have strengthened. Hooray! We got our money back from Jesse James. I awoke, still smarting from my boxing match with Sullivan, and my master most generously decided he would fetch a biscuit. I vow I will be able to move once more tomorrow. Indeed, he replied, and we cannot have you dropping the tray. He returned with black coffee and well-buttered toast. But I ate too much to eat, and so only gestured weakly for my master to eat what he had bought. We arrived into New York later that day. I struggled to lift the cases with my tired arms, and we staggered off the train. Stetson hat should be quite valuable here, which I assume it will not be particularly useful here either. After this point. Warm climate, I'm sure, will be particularly useful. Yeah, there's nothing particularly we want, is there? So, plan. Oh, I don't even know that's a route, do I? Oh, that's bad. Oops. I thought I had it, because it was blacked out, so I didn't. So there's a route to London. What's this other route that's kind of matching this? I can go to Reykjavik. I mean, there's no reason to. I was pickpocketed in New York. I seized the hands thief, still in my pocket. You tangled with the wrong Frenchman, I exclaimed in triumph. The little thief looked up at me with thick-lashed eyes. I realised blatantly that the thief was a young girl, barely 10. I released my grip slightly, and she took the opportunity to curse in a thick Irish accent and bite me. I held on, despite the inconvenience, and finally she grinned at me, teeth stained with my precious life's blood. Are you done, little vampire? For now, the girl muttered. What's it to you? I looked down at my bloody arm. Truly it was a salutary lesson not to let my guard down in strange climes. Don't steal again, I commanded sternly, as she returned my possessions. She agreed she would not ever again, cross her heart. Their expression was shifty. I relaxed my grip, and she slithered away and lost herself in the crowd. I made my way back to our hotel before anything more untoward could befall my delicate personage. Right, so to London! Partial wardrobe. If we spend 1,000, we won't be able to afford the ticket, so can I sell something in the market? Right, so we need another... Yes, I don't want to sell that anyway. Yeah, there's nothing I really want to sell. Yeah, I lost my Englishman's wardrobe. I don't have the full thing. Sell that because it's not doing us any good. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get the full amount, am I? Sell that quite handily. So, and we're going to need to pay for the hotel anyway. Because negotiating this gets it down to... That would cost us 5,000 in total. We don't have the money for it. So I think we will rest and see what happens. Another night, and the clock was forever ticking upwards. With what remained of the day... I went to stretch my legs. I polished our shoes and hat brims to ensure everything was in place for our inevitable departure. So we head up to Reykjavik. We can head to Winnipeg. I don't think that's going to do us any good. Oh, that's going to arrive on Saturday. That's going to be... That looks very worrisome. So we could head to Reykjavik. And that's going to be 2 days. And that's going to leave us with still quite a bit of money. We may be able to head on. Let's do it, because I didn't do this before. Oh, I see. We don't have any space for anything. We're gonna have to go. We have to do this. £1,000 for noon. We can't do that. We'll pay the 310 tomorrow. So market. There's still not a lot of. There's no reason not to not to leave it like this, unless. So we have to rest for the day. Our room was decent enough that I was sure I would not sleep. Day 72. As night fell, I did some minor alterations to our clothing. I went to stretch my legs. I helped the kitchen staff to clean. We get a little bit of money back, and we will depart for London. This is it. Oh, so we will earn extra space. We can, yeah, we may as well. There we go. Rough skies! Looks like a wearisome experience, but the air travel's outfit should make things slightly easier. And we're going to do it! Because it's only a couple of days left. It's like going to be 75. We're going to do it! We left New York aboard the Henrietta, an old Confederate airship, converted to a transatlantic mail carrier. We reached London in 3 days, barring any unexpected delay. 75 days. Cash reserves are running low, of course they are. Adventurer Fog expected back shortly. Of course they are. We've just spent 3,000. The ocean tore along beneath us. I enjoyed talking to no one. There was nothing I needed to know. No one to charm, flatter, or beguile into giving aid. There was only the wind and the time, and we could control neither. Passepartout, my master demanded. Make us go faster, if you would. I approached the captain. Faster, you say? It can be done, but it would destroy the engines. We want no risk, no danger. Then I promise you we'll be in London in 2 more days. Yes, the last time we got someone to go slightly faster, we ended up blowing the whole thing up. Adventurer Fog expected home any day now. We're gonna do it! Hooray! Monsieur Fogg looked out of the observation deck windows with perfect calm, as though we were not, with every passing moment, drawing closer and closer to London. My nerves were in shred, and I was neatly chewing the rails with anticipation. I spent the remaining time embarking on the writing of this account and ironing, watching every possible danger. One eye on the crew, the other on the ship, ready to react to the slightest trouble, but nothing broke the peacefulness of our day. Oh, you can go to Mount Snowdon. Oh, interesting. We're nearly there. We tethered at the airship dock in Hyde Park and felt, for the first time in 74 days, the feel of English soil under our shoes. At long last, we had returned to London, and in time to win the wager. Yes, we're back. Returned to London. I seized my master by the collar and threw him into one of the steam carriages idling on the banks of the Serpentine in Hyde Park. There is no need for such unseemly haste, Passepartout, my master noted, but I was a man possessed. The carriage barely shuddered to a steam-hissing stop before I dragged my master from his seat and up the steps to the imposing doors of the Reform Club. I released him only when we reached the great saloon where my master's erstwhile friends stood from their chairs, gaping in an attitude of great shock. Monsieur Fogg only straightened a little and said in his calm voice, "Gentlemen, here I am." The room erupted into cheers. Where had the crowd come from? Had they followed us inside from the street? I had scarcely noticed them. I realized, as though a spell had suddenly broken, that we had succeeded, and my master had won £20,000. With the 4,000 we began with, the debt built up from banks along the way, and our remaining funds, it was a profit of over 12,000, hardly a meagre sum. My heart began to beat again, and I saw for the first time the grand interiors of the Reform Club, which had no doubt remained untouched since its founding some 30-odd years ago. The most advanced piece of technology within was a gilded clock set up on the mantelpiece. A few club members were muttering about the impropriety of alighting in front of the club from a steam carriage. I pushed my way through to Monsieur Fogg, who had nearly been swallowed by congratulatory crowds. "You have won the bet, monsieur," I told him, and seized my master by the hand and shook it, as though we were two equals and not merely a master and servant. Monsieur Fogg pressed my hand warmly and did not remark even once upon the impropriety of my gesture. Indeed, those cool gaze did not so much as waver or soften. I believed he welcomed the chance to shake my hand. Any gentleman would be fortunate to call you his valet, and you have been a worthy companion to me. Besides, Monsieur Fogg said, and I knew that from him, there could be no higher praise. Monsieur Fogg! Monsieur Fogg! One of the journalists in the crowd cried, interrupting our conversation. What next for the great adventurer, Phileas Fogg, and his loyal valet, Passepartout? My master looked at me. Why, I replied. To the moon, of course. I looked around at faces of the assembled crowd and quirked an eyebrow. Anyone care to make a wager? Monsieur Fogg refrained from rolling his eyes. I believe he said with great deliberation that tonight I will have supper and go to bed. Come, Passepartout. It grows late. Yes, Monsieur Fogg, I said, and followed. Your journey around the world is complete. Celebrated Englishman Phileas Fogg wins round the world wager. Journey completed in 74 days despite unsolved murder aboard experimental ship, exploding Mississippi paddle steamer, and American train robbers. Alas. We visited 18 out of 169 cities. Favourite transport was steamships. Finishing balance was 12,000. Travelled 18,000 by sea, 4,000 by land, 4,000 by air. Spent 15,000 in total. Character was well heeled. Hadrona Harari. Passionate. My valeting skill was strong. My relations with Fogg was comfortable. Yes, so we kept our book, which is we didn't sell it, which I'm happy about. So you can see the red. You can see the black route, which is the one we did last time, and you see the red one. Now this one is a bit more up and down, and it took us another like 14 days. Going round. So apologies. It is quite a different world. I do like the fact that there's loads of different options for what you can do. Let's continue. Maybe let's stop the music. Oh, and now so it would begin again. So I like the fact there's loads of different things going on. I like the fact that there's different stories kind of happening, but the stories are limited to if it's a long train journey or if it's a long boat journey. There's a story for that boat or for that train or that ship. But it doesn't go beyond that story. That's something I quite like. It's quite a fun little thing. I could probably do another series of this and try and go a third route, a third different way. Maybe try and go down to Australia and then across to South America and back up. So just kind of go south and then east and then north again. That's a possibility. You could do challenges. I mean, I could probably stream this, and you guys could make the picks of what happens in each of those little adventure story things that pops up. I'm not entirely sure if you can control where I go, just because of that kind of real-time aspect. That's probably a problem. We probably have to have a little bit of a planning. I don't know, like pausing and stuff. So that was 80 days, and we managed to go around the world in 80 days. We did it in 74 days. One thing you can do if you have internet access, my internet's been on and off all day, so I don't think it's been doing it, is you also get to see other people also going around. It isn't just your previous routes going around, you get to see how other people are doing as well, which is also quite interesting. So yes, that was 80 days, all in one session. Around the world in one session. Or however many parts this Let's Play is going to be. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching.